Imagine earning $200,000 a week. Now imagine being broke 15 years later. It sounds impossible. After all, most people will never earn $200,000 in several years, let alone every 7 days. We assume that once someone crosses into millionaire territory, money stops being a problem forever. But in professional football, this isn't some rare tragedy. It's a recurring pattern. Player unions, researchers, and financial advisors have repeatedly found that a significant share of former professional footballers experience serious financial distress within only a few years of retirement. The exact percentage varies depending on the study and the country, but the underlying story never changes. The careers end, the income disappears, the lifestyle doesn't. Tonight, let's answer a question that seems absurd on the surface. How do you go broke after earning millions? Because the answer isn't simply, they spent too much. The mechanics are far more interesting and far more human than most people realize. Start with the brutal piece of mathematics nobody explains to a 19-year-old signing his first professional contract. A normal person's income graph looks like a hill. You graduate, start earning modestly, slowly build experience, receive promotions, and usually reach your highest earnings somewhere in your 40s or 50s before retirement. A footballer's graph looks nothing like that. It looks like a skyscraper. Between roughly 21 and 33 years old, a player earns almost everything he will ever make in his lifetime. Then one day, the graph falls off a cliff. Not gradually, immediately. One serious injury, one contract that isn't renewed, one younger player arriving, one manager deciding you're no longer part of the project. Suddenly, the weekly salary that felt permanent simply ends. For many players, 12 years of extraordinary earnings have to finance the next 50 years of life. That's an incredibly difficult psychological challenge, because human beings naturally assume tomorrow will resemble today. At 21, 35 feels unimaginably far away. At 25, retirement sounds like someone else's problem. The money arriving every Friday begins to feel normal. But it isn't normal. It's a lifetime's earnings arriving in compressed form, a salary disguising itself as a lump sum. Now let's subtract the money players never actually get to keep. Fans hear that a player earns $200,000 every week and mentally multiply it by 52, over $10 million. Simple. Except it isn't. That number is gross income. In many European countries, taxes alone can approach or exceed 45%. Then come agent commissions, legal fees, financial management costs, insurance, mandatory pension contributions, image rights structures. The headline salary shrinks surprisingly quickly. And then comes something you won't find on any tax return: the family payroll. Football has always been deeply connected to community. Many players grow up in working-class neighborhoods where everyone remembers the difficult years. The first big contract often transforms one young athlete into the financial center of an entire extended family. Parents receive houses, brothers receive businesses, childhood friends receive jobs. Cousins need loans, an uncle has medical bills, a friend wants investment capital, school fees, rent, cars, monthly allowances. None of these requests feel unreasonable individually. In fact, many are acts of genuine kindness. The problem is that kindness without limits slowly becomes an operating expense. Some footballers effectively become CEOs of a small company whose only source of revenue is their own ability to play football. When the career ends, the expenses often don't. Now comes the lifestyle. Professional football exists inside one of the world's most visible status competitions. Walk into almost any elite dressing room and you'll find luxury watches worth more than family homes. Supercars parked side by side, designer clothing, private holidays, custom jewelry, limited edition handbags, private chefs, security teams. Luxury isn't just available, it's normalized. And social comparison is incredibly powerful. If every teammate drives a supercar, arriving in an ordinary sedan suddenly feels like arriving underdressed. Nobody explicitly tells players to spend more. The environment quietly does it for them. Psychologists call this lifestyle inflation. Every increase in income creates a matching increase in expectations. The danger isn't buying one expensive car, it's buying 5. It's upgrading the house because someone else upgraded theirs. It's collecting watches that rarely leave the safe. it's maintaining multiple properties across different countries. Luxury purchases rarely behave like investments. Cars lose value the moment they're driven away. Jewelry often resells for a fraction of retail prices. Massive homes demand taxes, staff, maintenance, insurance, landscaping, and utilities every single month. The classic bankrupt athlete balance sheet isn't filled with assets. It's filled with liabilities disguised as trophies. Every possession quietly sends another monthly bill. Those bills don't retire when the player does. Then we arrive at perhaps the cruelest chapter: investments, or more accurately, bad investments. Imagine the perfect target for a scam. Young, extremely wealthy, busy, globally famous, financially inexperienced, surrounded by people telling him yes. That's exactly what many elite footballers become. The investment offers never stop. A restaurant opening with an old acquaintance. Luxury apartments overseas promising impossible returns. Nightclubs, hotels, fashion brands, car dealerships, mining ventures, private lending schemes, cryptocurrency tokens, NFT collections, artificial intelligence startups, a cousin's brilliant business idea, a teammate's friend's logistics company. Every proposal comes wrapped in confidence. Every presenter knows somebody the player trusts. Every deal promises that this opportunity is different. Many footballers simply don't have the time or expertise to evaluate these opportunities properly. Training occupies most mornings. Recovery occupies afternoons. Travel consumes weeks. Matches dominate weekends. Financial due diligence becomes someone else's responsibility. And that's where another danger appears: trust. Some athletes hand complete control of their fortunes to advisors who were never qualified. Others rely on childhood friends because loyalty feels safer than professionalism. Some discover years later that trusted advisors quietly stole millions. Court records across football are filled with stories that sound almost identical: forged signatures, fraudulent property deals, misappropriated funds, Ponzi schemes, unauthorized transfers. The players weren't necessarily reckless. Many simply trusted the wrong people. When you have enormous wealth, very little time, and complete faith in your inner circle, you aren't always an investor. Sometimes, you're simply the easiest person in the room to exploit. But beneath all the spreadsheets lies something even more important: identity. Most professional footballers have been footballers since childhood. At 10 years old, they're the talented kid. At 16, they're academy prospects. At 19, they're professionals. Their routines become almost military: train, recover, travel, compete, repeat. Every day has structure. Every weekend has purpose. Then suddenly, it's over. Retirement in football doesn't happen at 65. It often happens at 34. While former classmates are becoming senior managers, lawyers, surgeons, or entrepreneurs, the footballer wakes up on Monday morning with nowhere he has to be. The applause disappears. The cameras disappear. The dressing room disappears. The phone rings less often. For many athletes, this loss of identity is far more painful than losing income. Psychologists have documented elevated risks of depression, anxiety, and emotional difficulties during athletic retirement. And if you enjoy football stories that explain the money, the business, and the decisions behind the game, not just the scores, subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is here to do.